It's your girl, Professor Cinephile, and I am back. And this time I am reviewing the new Marvel film, Thunderbolts. Spoiler alert, I will be talking about things that happen in this film. So if you don't want it to be ruined, hit that pause button, come back when you're ready, but also hit that like button on your way out. All right. So Thunderbolts is the latest Marvel film, part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I will be honest and say I was not one of those people that grew up like reading the comics so closely. I did read some of them. I have some familiarity as I've gotten older, especially as I started getting into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I started going back to the comic universe, and so, but I will admit that I'm not a nerd about it. So if you nerds are watching, please don't come for me. I don't have it. I'm just going based on the film that I watched today in the context of the other Marvel films that I've seen. Okay. It's I didn't watch the trailer for it, and I realized that lately I haven't been watching a lot of trailers or films. I'm not really sure what's going on with that. It just kind of just going in raw dog, like, hey, why not? Happy to have my AMC A-list back. So if it's in the movies, I'll go watch it. Okay. Let me tell you the kind of Marvel fan that I am. Okay. I am okay, don't come for my neck, but Black Panther does not make the top five for me. I'm gonna be honest. I'm just gonna be honest. And I know some people think that that's blasphemy. I think we can all agree Endgame was great, right? I think it doesn't matter what type of Marvel fan you are. A lot of, we can all pretty much agree that it was a great film, right? It's long as shit. But I did go to see it in the film in the theater several times. So obviously it wasn't too long. Um, if I had to think of the five that come to my mind that I really loved, outside of Endgame, I would say Blade, I would say Ant-Man, I would say Ragnarok, um, I would throw Iron Man 2 in there, Far From Home, probably. Um, yeah, I tend to like, the darker films, I love the characters like the Winter Soldier, like Ant-Man, like the Black Widow, people who have these like kind of tortured struggle kind of lives, or the ones who are just kind of average, right? Except for Sam. I don't like him, but that's because I don't like Anthony Mackie, so bias. So yeah, so I like this, right? And so I came into this film not really knowing what to expect, but I knew that the characters were going to give me something different than the usual Marvel blockbuster, so to speak, right? It wasn't going to be too hokey, right? Oh, when it's Doctor Strange, love that. I don't know. I kind of lean more towards those folks. I mean, I fucks with Tony. Tony is my guy. Captain America could eat a box of bricks. Don't care about him at all. So the story is basically this group called the Thunderbolts. They are basically kind of like some outcasts, kind of cast off type folks, but they each have their own talents. And they are forced to come together because of this evil plot. So you have the main characters. You have Black Widow, Yelena. You have who else you have? You have Alexei, the Red Guardian. You've got the Ghost, who Antonia. You've got the Winter Soldier, right? That's probably the one that most people are familiar, that people are the most familiar with, right? Bucky Barnes, Winter Soldier, loved him in this, by the way. And so they all kind of come together, and then there's Bob. And so it's that and Bob. That's to me, that's a gag throughout the whole films, all of these super and Bob. So yeah, I love Julia Louis-Dreyfus in this particular role. I think she's a fantastic actress and always has been, but I do like to see her kind of flexing. So she is in this film, and she is playing Valentina, and Valentina is like this mastermind, and of course she's corrupted because everybody, the evil genius types, and all of that. But she's really great in this film. But anyway, she wants to get rid of these people because they're a liability. She is facing impeachment, and if anybody finds out that she's been part of this like, underground operation to create superhuman people, she might get in trouble. And so each of these people has worked for her in some capacity, probably doing dirty work, assassin work, what have you. Okay, boom. So this film really did it for me. I walked out of there thinking like, yo, I feel like this one may have moved into my top eight, if not my top five. And here's why. I cried in this film like twice. I was like, at one point, I was just bawling. Like, I just couldn't stop. I was trying. I was sitting there trying to be all gangster. I was like, I had my blanket and stuff. I ended up like just constantly was like wiping my tears. And then I just decided, I was like, fuck it. Don't nobody in here know me. I'm just gonna cry. And I just let it come out. This film is deeply, deeply emotional. I will actually issue a trigger warning. As somebody who lives with depression, as somebody who has near perpetual suicidal ideation, um, this film can be triggering for some folks, right? It really does touch some of those deeper parts of you. Um, so guard your heart a little bit, guard your mind a little bit. You know, I would not go see this film as a pick me up if I was having a depressive episode and I was kind of feeling down and was thinking, because sometimes I do that when I have depressive episodes, feeling kind of down, and I'll go to the movies. It'll pick me right up because I love films, right? This is not the film that I would recommend for anybody who happens to be in that kind of space. The film does talk a lot about mental health struggles and the darkest parts of depression, right? And it manifests in this kind of boogeyman, which I appreciate. Like, I really love when storylines can take something that is not like a physical boogeyman. You're not fighting against, any of the like physical characters like a Thanos or something like that, but you're actually fighting against an idea, and that idea is actually personified, right? And so, in this sense, the darkness of depression, the darkness of the deepest recesses of our worst mental health experiences manifest in this film, right? And are personified by this character, Sentry or Bob. Um, and so if you're not prepared for that, you may struggle with that. So they all realize that Valentina wants to kill them all. She needs to get rid of all the evidence of all of her little like side projects. And they are loners, they're individuals. Each of them has their own dark past, and they're dealing with their own, everybody has their own demons. But they know in order for them to survive, they have to come together. And then they learn about Bob. Bob happens to be there. They don't know why Bob is there, but then they realize that it's because Bob was made into this kind of superhuman. And they realize that Valentina is going to exploit him, right? So they band together because they got to save Bob and they got to turn Valentina down. I saw, I try to avoid spoilers and things like that. I saw a few people kind of complaining about, the visual effects or what have you. I went and saw it in 3D. I didn't even realize I was choosing 3D. I generally don't like to go see 3D films. I think they're unnecessary these days. But I think it probably is better in 3D because you don't catch a whole lot of those issues that people were complaining about when it came to the visual effects. But actually, I don't care because that's not the point of this film. This film really forces us to confront our loneliness, which is a problem in the world. If you spend one day on social media, you see exactly how lonely people are and how alone they are. And there are some people who are in really, really, really dark spots and have no one to talk to. And this film really brings that to light and will make people feel seen while also challenging us to build community and not feel like we have to be alone. Sometimes, the darkness comes in and tells you that you're alone, nobody wants to be around you and things like that. And we have to fight against that. We have to realize that there are people that will be there for us. And again, not everybody does, so I'm not dismissing people's experiences. But even if you just call a hotline, somebody is going to be there for you. And I thought that that was a really important message in this film, and I'm so glad that they went there. And I really liked the idea that this darkness was spreading, and it was you could see it was making people disappear, kind of like in the film where Thanos snapped his finger and people started to disappear. But this darkness comes and it just snatches people, like just snatches people out. And I thought that that was interesting because it wasn't that it was only picking people that were depressed. It's the fact that this darkness can consume anybody at any time. And I thought that that was really important because a lot of times we stigmatize people who live with depression or have these really dark bouts with mental health as though we could have predicted that. And that is not always the case. This can, like, it can affect anybody at any time. And not just affecting them directly as though they experience, people experience it based on the people in their lives who are consumed with this darkness, right? So I thought that that was a really important message. I also like the message of like, you never know what kind of trauma somebody carries. If you saw The Cell with J-Lo, which is probably her best film, Enough was great too. Shout out to Michael Starber. I know that's like your favorite film. But yeah, it's very much like that. If you remember the kid and the abused child that was kind of in this dream state, trying to get out, it very much reminds you of The Cell. Although it wasn't done as beautifully because The Cell is a fantastically beautiful film. But it reminded me of that. So if you like that film, you'll probably like this aspect of it too. But I love that there's this redemption in there. There's this idea that you do not have to succumb to this. And it's maybe some of your efforts to fight this may actually be making it worse. So I thought that there was a lot of that in there, and I thought it was well done. I was getting super, super emotional. Like I said, I was crying, trickling down, and then one point I just started bawling because like I have been there. Like I'm even getting like choked up now. Like I have been there. And I know what it's like for that darkness to consume you and for you to not hear any other voice other than the one that is telling you to end it all. It's time now. Like you don't need to be here anymore. And that's why I say it's triggering because if I was in a different mindset, state of mind, I should say, it might have, you know, stirred up some things in me that were deeper than me just kind of crying and feeling connected to it in that way. I really appreciated the acting. I think Florence Pugh as Black Widow, Yelena, fantastic. She's such a great actress, and I love her in this role. I like Julia Louis-Dreyfus. I thought she was fantastic as Valentina. I love whenever she shows up. Wendell Pierce, he's from Treme and a bunch of other things. He has a bit of a small role in here. Sebastian Stan, gotta love him as Bucky. He really takes that, I done been through some shit in life. I'm glad I got this bionic arm. Like he really does that well. Enjoyed Lewis Pullman as Bob. I really enjoyed him. If you trying to think of Silence of the Lambs. The guy that played the main psycho or whatever, there's the kind of this quiet kind of are you really crazy? But not, but also there was a little bit of that in there. So Lewis Pullman, I thought he did a fantastic job playing Bob. Yeah, I thought the cast did okay. It was funny. There were like some really funny moments. I like how they play on the whole like, so Marvel is always going to have some Easter eggs. Always going to have some kind of references to other Marvel films. And so I really like how they sprinkle those. I'm not going to ruin those for you. I want you to find them and enjoy it, but they sprinkle those in. And I like the humor of this film. It's a bit of a more sardonic kind of humor, a little more of a dry humor, kind of like, oh, if you didn't catch it, then you missed it kind of humor, which I appreciate. A lot of self-deprecating humor, which is part of the story. Um, but yeah, each of them has some trauma and they have to kind of confront that if they're going to move forward, right? There's two end credit scenes, so make sure you stay for that. Not going to ruin them for you. They weren't a whole huge thing, but Marvel always has end credit scenes. Um, I'm gonna give it I'm gonna give it 4 hearts. I didn't know what to expect going in, but I'm glad that I went in and I saw it. So I'm gonna give it 4 hearts. I'm not giving it five. It was not perfect film by any means. It's Marvel. It's a comic book film. Like that, I wouldn't even give Black Panther 5 hearts. Again, it's not my favorite film, so maybe I'll do a review on Black Panther and share with you the why it's not in my top five of Marvel films. I'd say go see it. Um, I'm waiting for people to start talking about how it's for women or it's feminine or, kind of that sexist patriarchal shit that people do whenever we start talking about mental health. Whenever we start talking about how people should seek out therapy or professional support to deal with their mental health, people start getting into all that stupid ass talk about that stuff. So I can kind of see people kind of going there. I can see people saying, oh, well, that was really sad and I don't relate to that and, whatever. Eh, I need people to grow up. I need some enlightenment to happen. I think this is an enjoyable film. I think it's better than some of the other films that I've seen from Marvel recently. So yeah, so enjoy it. All right, if you're new to my channel, thank you so much for being here. Hit the like button. Definitely subscribe to my channel. If you've been a long time subscriber, I appreciate you, I'm really grateful for your support. Share this. Let people know that I'm talking about Thunderbolts here, and I will see you all next time.